What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here for a Super Bowl 51 video. This video is going to be the 5 X factors for the New England Patriots and the Atlanta Falcons. So both teams, I'm giving you 5 X factors for each team to be successful. Now, what is an X factor? An X factor is a player that isn't a Tom Brady, it isn't a Matt Ryan. It's really kind of a player that is not very known to the casual football audience that could elevate their status when Super Bowl 51 ends. When this game ends, you look at these 5 players on each side, and maybe 1 or 2 of these guys will show up and now be stars to the casual fan base of the NFL. So, we know that Tom Brady is going to be a big factor. We know that Matt Ryan, that Julio Jones, that Julian Edelman, that these players are going to be big factors. But what about those other players? Players that aren't necessarily on your fantasy team. Those players that aren't necessarily getting the press or the media attention. Which are these X factors are going to come into play for Super Bowl 51? Let's start off with the Atlanta Falcons. 5 X factors for the Atlanta Falcons. The 5 X factors start with Dion Jones. Dion Jones is the rookie middle linebacker for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, why is he so important? Because he is the linebacker that is important for multiple different things. He's going to be important for the Patriots' short crossing route passing game. He's going to have to cover Edelman in the slot or Amendola in the slot. These crossing routes constantly, trying to defend those crossing routes. He has to make sure that his defense is in the right place at the right time. He's also going to be very critical at covering running backs like Dion Lewis or James White out of the backfield. He's going to be critical in the run game against the LeGarrette Blount, against a Dion Lewis, and he's going to be very critical even if he's going to blitz, because with the Falcons, they've been blitzing more regularly this past half of the season. Dion Jones has been very effective in that regard, so we'll see if he continues to do that. And so the thing for me is Dion Jones not only going to be in so many different places at so many different times, but he's going to need to be very solid in tackling. He's going to be have to be very aware because he is playing a chess match with Tom Brady. He's going to have to adapt his defense on what he sees. So Dion Jones is going to be absolutely critical to the Atlanta Falcons defense against Tom Brady this Sunday. Mohamed Sanu on the opposite side of the ball, I think is going to be very critical for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, of course, we have Julio Jones. Of course, we have Devontae Freeman and Tavon Coleman. But who are the other names that could potentially break out for the Falcons on the offensive side of the ball? They do have a pretty underrated offensive line, but where I'm going to look is another receiver. Because as we know, Bill Belichick likes to take away your number 1 option, and it seems like Julio Jones is going to be that guy. Now, Belichick also wants to take away the run game. He wants to take away Freeman. He wants to take away Coleman and make you one-dimensional. Well, if you're going to be one-dimensional and beat the Patriots, you're going to have different contributors in your second and third and fourth wide receiver spots or targets in the passing game. Mohamed Sanu is that second target in the passing game. Whether he's against Eric Rowe or Logan Ryan, he's going to have to be very critical. He will possibly draw Eric Rowe because he is on the outside. Logan Ryan typically plays against the slot receiver, who is Gabriel. That's probably what they'll end up doing, is having Rowe cover Sanu. So in order for them to cover Sanu, Rowe might not have the same amount of help as a Butler does, maybe with a Devin McCourty over the top. So Sanu really has to take advantage of that Eric Rowe matchup and benefit, because Julio Jones is going to have all the attention paid to him. So if somebody's going to take advantage, it should be Mohamed Sanu. Now we go to the interior defensive linemen of the Atlanta Falcons. We've seen in the past that when Tom Brady has not necessarily struggled, but has been beaten, and you can overcome Tom Brady's greatness if you're able to get pressure up the middle. If you're able to get pressure up the middle with any pocket passer, be it Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, Dan Marino, whoever it is, you should be able to have success if you can rush from your interior defensive line. The Falcons will probably ask their defensive line to rush for most of the game. They don't want to blitz Tom Brady too often, because really Tom Brady will kill you if you blitz too often. So by sending 4 the Falcons will be really relying on their interior guys to beat the Patriots' offensive guards inside. So the Patriots' offensive guards and center and offensive guards, interior offensive linemen, are the weakness of their offensive line when it comes to pass protection. We saw it against the Texans. We've seen it earlier in the season that teams have been able to take advantage of those interior players. Not often, but at times. And even in the past, we saw it at times in the Super Bowl with Justin Tuck. Now, do the Falcons have a player like that? Not exactly. They do have a couple of guys that I think will have to have a big game for the Falcons to win. Rashad Hageman for the Falcons is one that is kind of getting most of the press. But another guy that I look at is more of the pass rushing interior guy, the guy with the quickness, the guy that can get after the quarterback. And that is Grady Jarrett. Grady Jarrett is an underrated name on the Falcons defense, on their defensive line. I think both of these guys will be critical to get pressure after Tom Brady. The Patriots tackles in Cannon and Solder are both very solid, and I think it will be difficult for Vic Beasley to take over this game. So that being said, I think it's going to be on Hageman and on Jarrett to have success against the Patriots offensive line. Ricardo Allen is the free safety for the Atlanta Falcons. He is largely responsible to be the top guy or the last guy back in the cover three. The cover three defense is primarily what the Atlanta Falcons play. It's also the Seattle Seahawks defensive scheme that their coach Dan Quinn has taken from Seattle into Atlanta because he coached in Seattle, now he coaches in Atlanta. Ricardo Allen is that Earl Thomas, let's just say that. He has 2 interceptions in 2 playoff games. But the critical thing here for Allen is to not only make plays, maybe make a key interception at one point or another, but he has to tackle well and he has to be aware. He has to not get sucked in by the play action, which will be a huge game plan point for the Patriots. He's going to have to be somewhat active in the run game without giving up the big play to a Chris Hogan or an Edelman down the field. He needs to be very disciplined. The Patriots will try and benefit off of your over-aggression, and Ricardo Allen needs to make sure that he doesn't give up the big play. So I think Ricardo Allen will also be key with those crossing routes, trying to hit guys while they're running across the field. Kyle Shanahan is my last X factor. Now, Kyle Shanahan is not a player. He's a coach. He's the offensive coordinator of the Atlanta Falcons, the future head coach, most likely of the San Francisco 49ers. Kyle Shanahan is a X factor because will he have an out-of-nowhere game plan that totally destroys the Patriots defense, which was number 1 in scoring defense this season? Or will he not come up and rise big time against the GOAT, Bill Belichick? That's the question. Kyle Shanahan, I'm a huge fan of him. I think he's a great offensive coordinator, and I was really happy that the 49ers hired him because I think he's a very good coach. What will his game plan be against Bill Belichick? This will be the biggest, Bill Belichick and Matt Patricia. What will, the chess game be? Will Kyle Shanahan be able to adjust? If he's taking away Julio, what will he do? If Julio's not having a great game, what will happen? If they can't run the ball, what will happen? So Kyle Shanahan needs to be able to adjust. Will he have a couple wrinkles here and there that will be able to beat the Patriots? So that's very key against the Patriots. Kyle Shanahan's game plan and ability to adjust and call the gutsy plays when needed against the Bill Belichick and Matt Patricia defense. So let's go to the New England Patriots side of things with the 5 X factors for Super Bowl 51. We start off with the running backs for the New England Patriots. That is LeGarrette Blount, that is Dion Lewis, and that is James White. I didn't want to pick just one player because all 3 of these guys operate as one role. James White is a pass catcher. He's Shane Vereen, Kevin Falk-esque. Dion Lewis is more Danny Woodhead-esque for the Patriots. He's more of the guy that he's also a pass catcher, but he can run the football. And he's a dangerous returner. LeGarrette Blount is that power Corey Dillon, Antoine Smith, Patriots running back that they've always really had. So for Atlanta, they're going to probably give up yards to these 3 guys. But how do they do in the red zone? How do they defend in the red zone against these 3 guys? And also, how do they match up in the passing game? I think that's the most critical thing. Dion Lewis and James White. Now, Atlanta has been the worst in the NFL this season against receiving running backs. That's specifically Lewis and White. How will they cover them how will they be able to adapt to these two dangerous playmakers at the running back position out of the backfield. So it's going to be very intriguing to see how Atlanta does, because if these two guys are very involved and LeGarrette is running the ball with power, it's going to be a very difficult Patriots offense to stop. Now let's move on to the Patriots defensive side of the ball, where I'm going to talk about Eric Rowe. Eric Rowe is the guy that will most likely be lined up on Mohamed Sanu or Gabriel. Both of these guys could potentially get, or even Julio. But for Eric Rowe, I think for the Patriots, they're really going to have to rely on some one-on-one matchups. And most likely it will be Eric Rowe versus Mohamed Sanu. Can he not have a bad game? Can he not have a bad game? Can he have an average game, or can he have a good game? That's going to be the question for the Patriots. Can some of their playmakers, where they're not necessarily getting help, can they have good games? So I think for Eric Rowe, he'll most likely draw Mohamed Sanu. I think there is a game plan floating in Patriots' minds' heads, which I have thought about, to put Rowe and McCourty on Julio and let Butler and Ryan cover the two other guys, which I think is an intriguing game plan. But I know that Bill doesn't want to give up the big play to Julio, and he prefers the other playmakers to beat him. So if that is correct, I think Eric Rowe will have to have a big game for the Patriots to win. I think he'll have to make a couple plays here and there, just not get beat deep will be the number one thing for Eric Rowe. He'll have to tackle well. He'll have to let the plays underneath. You can let the play underneath go, but you can't get beat over the top. That's going to be Eric Rowe's number one thing. Also, is he the Patriots' weak link? If you're an Atlanta game planner, how are you going to get after him? And I think if the Patriots can eliminate their weak links, that's going to be the biggest thing. Marcus Cannon for the Patriots is their right tackle. Vic Beasley is a left outside linebacker / left defensive end. He mostly plays defensive end. He's going to be rushing against Marcus Cannon. Marcus Cannon has not given up a sack, I believe, since week 1 for the Patriots. He's been an all-pro. I think he made the second team all-pro for the NFL this year. Very, very good tackle this year. Very much developed into one of the best right tackles in the game. Very disciplined, strong, good pass blocker, good run blocker. Dante Scarnecchia has made this guy a beast. And Marcus Cannon, the thing is going to be, can he contain Vic Beasley? You can't let Vic Beasley have a Von Miller-like performance in this game, or you're going to potentially destroy your team's entire game plan offensively. So Marcus Cannon will have to be steady and ready to go against a good pass rusher, the leading sack leader in Vic Beasley. Trey Flowers for the Patriots defense. Not a lot of people know who this is, but he was actually the Patriots sack leader this season. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up Trey Flowers is because I've noticed with Atlanta, although their tackles are fairly decent at blocking, Jake Matthews has had some issues. It will be interesting to see, because Trey Flowers is that ultimate chess piece for the Patriots defensive line. He can line up at end. He can line up at D tackle. He can pretty much play like a Michael Bennett-ish role for the Patriots defense. He's not as good as Michael Bennett, but he's definitely a young player that's developing into one of those type playmakers. He had 7 sacks on the year, and most of that was coming off the second half because he didn't start really in the first half of the year. He's very good as a run defender, but he also has the ability to get after the passer. So potentially you could see a guy like Trey Flowers having a couple sacks in this game, and if he does, the Patriots are well on their way to winning the Super Bowl. Chris Hogan for the Patriots is a guy that has been an absolute monster in the playoffs. Now, I know that Chris Hogan is a relatively known receiver to most football fans. He has really been coming on in the playoffs. So maybe look to a Martellus Bennett or a Chris Hogan. I think one of these guys in the receiving game will have to have a good game. All the attention will be on Julian Edelman, and Julian Edelman will most likely deliver. But Chris Hogan has basically been 7-11 this entire playoffs for the Patriots, and that's actually his nickname. He led the NFL in yards per catch in the regular season. Will he continue that? Will he get a big, long touchdown in this game? A huge question mark for the Patriots will be, who is that second guy in the receiving game that will step up? So far, it's been Chris Hogan. Will it be him again, or maybe it will be a Martellus Bennett? We'll have to see come Sunday, but those are the 5 X factors for the Atlanta Falcons and the New England Patriots going into Super Bowl 51. If I missed an X factor that you guys think I should add to the list, let me know. Again, these are 5 players that are not really known to the casual audience that could have a big game in the Super Bowl. Let me know what you guys think. It's Mitch of the Bottom Line View. If you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel. We have tons of NFL content. Gronk spike that like button. Lets us know how I'm doing, how our channel is doing if you enjoy the content. Also, comment below. We really like to hear who's going to win the Super Bowl, who's going to be the X factor that people might not expect. Again, it's Mitch of the Bottom Line View. Thanks, guys, for watching, and peace out.